Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. So many things going on in our state due to COVID-19 and other issues. We are pleased to welcome in Attorney General Daniel Cameron to talk about some of those things. Hello, Attorney General. It is good to see you again.
Very good to see you as well, Mary Jo. Thanks for having me.
First thing I want to pick your brain about is the upcoming primary, and you've joined Secretary of State Michael Adams as part of a team to enforce, to make sure that this primary election goes off without a hitch.
Yeah, well, we recently established the Ballot Integrity Task Force, which is a partnership with myself and Secretary Adams and some of our federal and state partners to make sure that these upcoming June 23rd primaries are as safe as possible. The Attorney General's office obviously has a responsibility to make sure that we are upholding the integrity of our elections. We're certainly ready and able to assist in that regard, and obviously appreciate the difficult work that Secretary Adams has had to do in establishing a little bit of a different process for the June 23rd primary, but am grateful for his leadership.
So what do you make when the president tweets stuff about mail-in balloting is going to be a complete fraud?
Well, look, here in Kentucky, I know Secretary Adams is doing his best to make sure that we have a system that works here on the June 23rd primary. Our office certainly is in the position of being ready to assist. We've got a hotline that we will maintain on Election Day. That's 1-800-328-VOTE for your viewers out there that might have an interest. But we are certainly ready to ensure that the integrity of the June 23rd primary is secure for all those that are voting on that day, and look forward to confronting that challenge.
Obviously, when you got into office, you and the rest of the world couldn't have imagined the kind of world we'd be living in over the last couple of months, where it's been a pandemic. How has that changed your duties as Attorney General?
Well, you're right. We certainly continue to focus on issues that were important to me when I was campaigning and when I began office, whether it be on the drug front or child abuse or human trafficking. But now we have the additional responsibility since the inception of COVID-19. We have the additional responsibility of making sure that we're watching out for consumers and Kentuckians on any price gouging issues. The governor issued an executive order that triggered our responsibility to watch out for price gouging here in the Commonwealth. And in addition to that, we've also been taking care to look out for COVID-19 scams. And so that has certainly been a priority for us during the last few months, and trying to make sure that Kentuckians know that we're looking out for them as it relates to any price gouging. I think we've received over 4,000 reports of alleged price gouging since the beginning of COVID-19. But we're all hands on deck here, assisting and being responsive to Kentuckians who have those concerns. And then on the COVID-19 scam side as well, doing everything we possibly can to be responsive. Really proud that our office not only has a hotline that's been a traditional way for people to communicate and provide information to this office, but now we have 2 online forms, one for scams related to COVID-19 and then one for price gouging related to COVID-19. And so we think we are doing a good job of responding to and working hard on behalf of our citizens to watch out and look out for price gouging and to stop COVID-19 scams.
Certainly since this all started, Governor Beshear has made a lot of decisions to try to keep the people of the Commonwealth safe. But of course, your office has challenged and won a couple of those decisions, the travel ban and in-person church services.
In this office, I've certainly said this repeatedly, that I understand the great decisions and judgments that have to be made by our president and our respective governors and elected leaders, whether it be county judges or mayors, that they have to make all across this country, really, but here in particular, here in the Commonwealth. And so we have a responsibility to look out for the health concerns of our citizens, and I am very proud of the way that Kentuckians have stepped up to look out for their neighbors. But we also have an equal responsibility, in my judgment, to look out for the constitutional rights of our citizens as well. It is a balance. I think we're striking the right balance here in the Commonwealth. You mentioned those two particular issues that arose as it relates to the travel ban that was instituted by the governor, and then the ban on in-person church services. We looked at the landscape, which is the Constitution, and in our judgment, those things did not meet up to the muster or the constitutional requirements of the First Amendment in particular, and the right to travel that has been reaffirmed by our Supreme Court over and over again as enshrined in our Constitution. And so we challenge those in various forms, whether it be through support of amicus briefs or filing or joining in lawsuits. And we're glad to see that there were judges here in the Commonwealth that agreed with our view that the in-person ban that had been instituted by the governor was unconstitutional, because it inhibited the First Amendment rights of our faith-based facilities and our faith-based leaders and our congregations to make a decision about whether they wanted to go to church. I will note that two judges, one appointed by President Obama and then one appointed by President George W. Bush, both came to independent decisions that the ban on in-person church services was unconstitutional. And then a Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals panel made a exact same decision when that case in some variation was taken up on appeal. So we are pleased with the affirmation of the view that our constitutional rights cannot be infringed upon even in the midst of a pandemic. Attorney General Bill Barr a few weeks ago said, even in the midst of a pandemic, the Constitution is not suspended. That's certainly the sentiment of this office, and we were glad to see that those values that are enshrined in our Constitution were affirmed here.
Of course, recently, some might say First Amendment was taken a bit too far at the governor's home. Yeah,
look, any sort of, I believe you're probably referring specifically to the effigy. That's abhorrent to me. And I was disheartened to see that sort of behavior. I certainly believe in the right for all citizens to be able to espouse their First Amendment rights, but we have to do it in a way that honors our Constitution. And in my judgment, that did not honor the Constitution, and it was abhorrent, and I was sickened by it. And so I've made that clear and make that clear to you today on this show. But I think by and large, Kentuckians who have expressed concern have done it in the right way. I was saddened and disheartened and sickened to see that particular image, and that there were children around too. Was pretty abhorrent in my judgment that they were having to view something like that.
Still ahead on Hey Kentucky, part 2 of my conversation with Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Don't go away.